Evening at 6 o'clock. I'll call this March 17th, 2025 regular meeting of the James City County Planning Commission to order. Ms. Istenis, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Haskins. Dr. Ullman.
Present.
Dr. Ullman represents the Roberts District. Mr. May. Mr. Everson.
Here.
Mr. Everson represents the Stonehouse District. Mr. Rogers.
Here.
Mr. Rogers represents the Berkeley District. Mr. Polster.
Here.
Mr. Polster represents the Jamestown District, and Mr. Haldeman.
Here.
Mr. Haldeman is an at-large member and will be presiding over this meeting as Vice Chair of the Commission.
Thank you. Time for public comment. There's nobody here. We'll move on to the. Excuse me. I apologize. I really do apologize.
We thought he was going to get up and plug
I don't think he has
the
anything
good
to say.
doctor.
Honored guest.
When residents of James City County can comment on any subject not subject to a public hearing. You have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address if you wish. Thank you. We'll move on to the annual organizational meeting, election of officers. We'll elect a chair for next year first. May I please have a nomination for chair?
It's my pleasure to nominate Mr. Jack Hallman to serve as the chairman of the Planning Commission for next year.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, we'll close the nominations. Voice vote.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. May I please have a nomination for vice chair? Mr. Everson.
I'd like to nominate the good doctor, Kara Allman, to be vice chair for, I guess, 2025 through to February of next year,
March of next year. Yeah.
March of next year.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Seeing none, we'll close the nominations. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
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 Thank you. Congratulations.
We've all had a chance to review the calendar for 25, 26, and 26, 27. Does anybody have any issues with it or questions?
I don't really have an issue with the calendar, but I do have a question for Ms. Istanis is when I look at the policy committee meetings and the number that we have here and the number of policy committee meetings we had last year, do we have any idea what we're looking at for a work plan for next year in terms of the policy committee?
I will, there are a few things coming down, but I really should confer with Paul Holt. But I believe the Board of Supervisors wanted to look at data centers, and I'm assuming that may a code change. And it initiate. I'm policy committee.
As you know, about a year ago, I mentioned the item out of the comp plan that had to do with the stockage rate, and even had proposed one. And, at the time, it was a question of Paul getting back to us. But it seems to me that seems to be a rather minor item, and I'd be more than willing to draft the resolution if that needs to be done or help with that. And as you know, the county, through the Special Stormwater Group, did a study with the Colonial Soil and Water Conservation District, and their recommendation was to change that, as well as they made it an issue as the last comp plan. So we're probably another year away from the comp plan, and it seems to me that there's still a bunch of issues that we haven't gotten to from there, of which that minor change to the agricultural ordinance piece seems to be something that we should be able to accomplish in the next year. So I'd ask us to really consider that.
I will pass that message on to Mr. Holt and also present.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to considerations. The Planning Commission and Board of Zoning 2024 annual report. We've all had a chance to review it. Does it need to be approved? Or just for
That's-
FYI?
Is it, it's usually we just
Just FYI,
FYI,
yeah.
yeah.
Any,
Vote on the adopting the.
No, we actually,
sorry.
yep, we just opened it for questions, so we should probably go ahead and do a vote. Thank
May I
you,
please
Beth.
have a motion to approve the calendar?
Make a motion that we approve the proposed calendar for 2025 and 2026.
Thank you. Roll call?
We can do that. Mr. Polster,
Aye.
Mr. Rogers,
Aye.
Mr. Everson,
Aye.
Mr. May, Dr. Allman,
Aye.
Mr. Haldeman.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Any comments on the annual report? Questions?
I just had one question, and not a question so much as a comment, is when I looked at the number of dwelling units added for the 2024 and 25 timeframe, I was struck by the fact that the number ended up around 325, which is about what we've been doing for the past years. And so, I understand that we've run into staffing problems. Are we having some issues or planning, being able to maintain that level of effort?
No, not that I'm aware of. I mean, it obviously comes through my office, so no.
Well, I mean, and then when you look at the 325, and then you look at the 3.4% increase in the population, it seems to me to be rather remarkable that our growth continues to be on an upward way for it. That was the only comment that I had.
Thank you. Yeah, we're up at 35,000 dwelling units now, I think.
Right.
And the last Future Think projection for school enrollment projects a pretty substantial jump in the next 2 or 3 years. So,
Can I make a comment on that?
uh-huh. Oh, this is your favorite subject. Yeah.
It is.
Uh-huh.
That is based on the most likely, which they put on page 7 of their budget. After the Board of Supervisors told them that we're using low projections for budgeting, which they've been doing forever, but low projections for CIP also. If you look at the low projections, over the next 10 years, the numbers are about the same. I believe there's a 5-student reduction in 10 years, which has been the situation for the last 5 years.
It's been pretty stable.
It has been stable for at least 5 years, and I was really annoyed that they put that chart in there before they asked for a $13 million increase in their budget, because the numbers don't support it, and the board has told them to use low, and last year they snuck in different projections on, I forget which one they used. I think they used moderate last year, if my recollection serves me correctly. This year they used most likely, which is, the interesting thing is, most likely is not most likely. What's most likely is low. And that's been the case for James City County for the last 15 years. Anything over even low enrollment projections over project the number of students by about 5% when you go out 5 to 10 years. They say it'll be 5% more than actually show up. I can produce all the charts and tables to prove that if you'd like to have
I've seen them. You've made that point
I
before.
thought I showed them to you.
Great, thanks. Any other comments on the report?
I'd just like to make a quick, if you don't mind adding on to my comment. I mean, if you don't already realize, a lot of the dwelling units that come online are really from larger projects or projects that just haven't built out yet. So there is a really interesting map online, actually. Yeah, thanks. That shows the approved projects, residential, mixed use, what have you, and how much capacity is left for build out.
It's in the report.
Yep, exactly. Thank you. Yep. But then, of course, we have the Eastern State properties coming soon, so that will add. And I do need you all, if you're done discussing it, to vote to accept the annual report.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're done.
you want to,
Yes, and I'll get to that in a second.
okay,
but,
sorry.
Under commission discussion and requests, Mr. Polster has graciously volunteered to take the Board of Supervisors meeting on April 8th. Would you all please let me know which dates over the next year that you cannot cover? And I'll try to get everybody in as best I can. And secondly, would you please let me know preferences? My best to buddy up with their preferences if I can. That's it.
This won't take long. Last month, or I should say, last meeting, I had raised the issue about the stormwater and the situation in Colonial Heritage, and afterwards, I got to thinking, because Mr. Pulser had pointed out that at the period of time in question, there was a shortage of inspectors. And I remembered that back in the 89-90 timeframe, when we had almost 2,700 residential permits issued in those 2 years alone, and it continued at a high rate for the next several years, that the county set up, contracted with companies, I believe in Virginia Beach, if memory serves me right, that if a contractor needed an inspection of any type, that at their expense, they could have this third party come in, and the county, because they're certified engineers, and the county would accept that. So I was thinking if there's any issues with stormwater inspections going forward, that maybe we should consider the planning division, maybe, or whatever division it is, would consider having companies available in the event that they can't do it timely, that these contractors, such as what's going on with Lennar in Colonial Heritage, could then contract to have somebody else come up and do the inspection at their expense. I'm not saying the county should pay for that, but it was just something that popped in my head as I was driving home, and I didn't think of it when you brought it up, Frank. And actually, when I started thinking about when it was done, you had your years spot on.
There has been, over the last 50 years, a lot of either poorly designed storm or well-designed but subsequently.
See, in the case I brought up, it was a question that the engineer plans called for a drain, and it wasn't there. It is now. It cost $36,000 to homeowners association to put that in. We were happy they put it in. I don't think the homeowners association was all that excited about it, but they really didn't have a choice because it was on.
But one of the issues that came out of the 7.1 tax break was money that went to something called the Neighborhood Drainage Program, of which Colonial Heritage has been a big beneficiary of that.
Aware of that.
For it, and that's to try to correct the sins of the past.
That's my point. The point is that
And mine.
this is not an old development. This is not Forest Colony, which was being developed back in the 80s. This is in the 2004, I think, is when they first started construction out there. So that's in the last 20 years. And just, I know that I went with one of the two members of the board of the Homeowners Association, met with Ms. Small, and she had one of her inspectors there about some of the issues that are out there. And I think the thing about this that really gets my goat is I had spoken against Colonial Heritage at the time because of their issues in Florida. And I had said that they had spoke to the board, you need to have proffers that include paying for inspectors, because this company has a dismal record. Well, U.S. Homes at the time, now Lennar, has had a dismal record in the past, fined several $100 million in the state of Florida.
I don't know if you can use,
I hear what you're saying.
any other discussions, requests? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.